Let us go on to a little bit about his mother, salawatullahi alayha. And of course, she is known by many names as mentioned in the narrations and as we saw above. For example, there's Narjis, Mulaika, Rayhana, Sayqal, Saqil, Sawsan, Khamt, and Maryam. These are a little bit of the names that were mentioned for her, salawatullahi alayha. Now, what is agreed upon by the Shi'i scholars and the Sunni scholars that we just listed above, she is a Walad, a slave girl of Imam Abu Muhammad al-Askari alayhi salam. As for exactly what her name is or what she was named at birth, Allahu a'lam. But for the Imam salamullahi alayhim to give their wives or their slave girls their multiple titles or to give her multiple names, this is not something very rare, as this was done with the mother of Imam Sajjad salamullahi alayhi and the mother of Imam al-Kadhim and the mother of Imam al-Jawad, and the mother of Imam al-Rida most specifically, Syeda Narjis. Salamullahi alayhim ajma'in. Going into this is another topic of discussion about her, salawatullahi alayha, is where she is from. We list these opinions here is that, one, she is either from Byzantium, she is Rumiya, is Roman. And we have two sources for this that we see that clearly say this, in the hadith. As for the opinions of the scholars, we're talking about the hadith most specifically here. We'll see it in two places, the narration of Bishr ibn Sulaiman al-Nakhas, which is found in Kamal ad-Din. I will not be covering that because that narration is extremely long and it's a mawdu' of a very long bahth. And the second one is Mukhtasar Ithbat al-Raj'a, which is a book attributed to al-Fadl ibn Shadar rahimahullah. In the ninth hadith, he says from Muhammad ibn Abd al-Jabbar, who narrated, I said to my master al-Hasan ibn Ali al-Askari, salamullahi alayhi, may Allah make me your sacrifice, O son of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. Ja'alani Allahu fidak. Oh, ju'iltu fidak. I would love to know who the Imam and the Hujjah of Allah on his servants is after you. Who is he? So the Imam alayhi salam said, verily the Imam and the Hujjah after me is my son, the namesake of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, who has the same kunya as the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, and who is the last Hujjah and the Khalifa of Allah. Muhammad ibn Abd al-Jabbar said, from whom will he be born? So who's his mother? He's asking, O son of the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi. He alayhi salam said, from the granddaughter of the Caesar, or the Caesar, the Byzantine emperor. He will certainly be born, but he will disappear from the people in a long occultation. Then he will reappear and kill the Dajjal, and he will fill the earth with equity and justice as it would be filled with oppression and injustice. So no one is allowed to mention him by name or by his name or describe him by his kunya before his appearance. Blessings of Allah be upon him. Both narrations, they have a questionable authenticity. The one from An-Nakhas the story is mainly narrated by a guy named Muhammad bin Bahr al-Shaybani. Muhammad ibn Bahr, if he is thiqa or he is not thiqa, هذا موضوع بحث, which we will talk about in just a little bit. لكن الذي ثبت عن العلماء, what is certain is that he was a Mughal. And we read this in Rijal al-Kashi by Abu Ja'far, Shaykh al-Ta'if, Shaykh al-Tusi, Ridwanullahi ta'ala alayhi wa ala Allah maqamuhu al-Sharif. In the first volume, page 395, he mentions a narration from him, and while mentioning him, he says, حدثني أبو الحسن محمد بن بحر الكرماني الدهني الترماشيري. He says, قال وكان من الغلاة. He's one of the ghulat. Then after he mentions the narration, which is a munkar narration insulting al-A'yan and saying that Himran is not one of them, it's munkar narration, al-Kashi then says, محمد بن بحر هذا غال. Okay? وفضالة, who's in the chain, فضالة ابن أيوب ليس من رجال يعقوب وهذا حديث مزاد مغير عن وجهه. Meaning, we have a few problems with this narration that was mentioned. So Muhammad ibn Bahr is a Mughali. Fadala he's not one of the Rijal of Yaqub bin Yazid, as we see inside the chain. When al-Kashi, he mentions that this is the problem with the narration, and Muhammad ibn Bahr is the only one who has been weakened, and we see that in Rijal ibn al-Ghabairi or Kitab al-Du'afa by ibn al-Ghabairi rahimahullah. بس على الفرض أن يكون هذا من مؤلفات ابن الغبائري, we read that he mentions Muhammad ibn Bahr and he says that he is ضعيف and his madhab is مرتفع. في مذهبه ارتفاع. It shows us that the problem that Fadala, because there's inkar, Yaqub bin Yazid does not narrate from Fadala ibn Ayyub. So either this is qalbul isnad or kadhib. This is either Muhammad ibn Bahr al-Shaybani mixing up the narration, mixing up the chain, or he is lying, right? Because this is the khalal of the narration. This is the problem in the narration as we see here. That is one of many doubts regarding the narration of Bishr ibn Sulaiman ibn Khas that is in Kamal ad-Din by Shaykh al-Sadiq. As for the narration that comes from the book that is attributed to al-Fadl ibn Shadar rahimahullah, we read here that Muhammad ibn Abd al-Jabbar in the books of Rijal, open any narrations or books of Rijal, I have not seen a single narration that comes from al-Fadl ibn Shadar narrating from Muhammad ibn Abd al-Jabbar. I've not seen anything like it. Opening up the books of Rijal and reading the tarjama of both Muhammad ibn Abd al-Jabbar and al-Fadl ibn Shadan, you will not find it. At least from my bahith, I can conclude that I have not seen it. And This book, it is attributed to al-Fadl ibn Sha'ban. So there is no certainty for the authenticity of the book or its narration, wallahu a'lam. That she is Roman or Byzantine, we have no yaqeen, and it is probably far from true. The second opinion is that she is from Sindh. The person who mentions this is the Nusayri Khasibi alayhi la'natullah wal malaika wal nasi ajma'in, and I'm not going to even be covering it or showing you the reference at all, because he deserves no attention, his book deserves no attention. La'natullahi alayhi wa ala atba'ih. The third opinion is that she, salamullahi alayha, was from al-Maghrib, and this is يعني أشيع بين al-Mu'asirin, that between a few people today, such as Sheikh Ahmed Salman, who actually wrote a book on Sayyidatul Imam, Syeda Narjis, salamullahi alayha, واللي read for the Arabic speakers, يراجعون. This is something that has, become popular between the shuyukh of today. And from what I have seen, there are absolutely zero sources. So I can say with yaqeen that she was not from al-Maghrib. Wallahu la'ala wal-a'lam. Now, a narration that says where she is from is possibly found in Al-Kafi. And where's that place? That place is Nubia. An-Nuba. Bilad al-Nuba. And we read in Kitab al-Kafi a long narration about al-Imam al-Jawad, salawatu rabbi wa salamuhu alayh. في رواية تطول بحثها until it says Ali ibn Ja'far, who is the brother of Imam al-Kadhim, salamullahi alayh, and the uncle of Imam Abu al-Hasan al-Ridha alayhi salam, he said, then I stood up and moistened my lips with the saliva of Abu Ja'far al-Jawad. هذا كلام يطول بحثه when he met Imam al-Jawad alayhi salam. Then I said to him, I bear witness that you are my Imam in the sight of Allah. At that, Imam al-Ridha alayhi salam wept and then said, "Oh uncle, did you not hear my father alayhi salam, Imam al-Kadhim, saying that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam said, may my father be the sacrifice for the son of the Nubian woman, the pure chosen one of the slave girls, and the one of the pure mouth. Woe to them." This is apparently the kalam of Rasulullah. وَيْلٌ لَهُمْ لَعَنَ اللَّهُ الْأُعَيْبِسِ. I have heard that in modern day, some people they say al-U'aybis is al-Abbas bin Abd al-Muttalib, but I don't think that the Messenger of Allah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam cursed his uncle. He says, may Allah curse al-U'aybis and his progeny. Then he talks about apparently Imam al-Mahdi, where he says, the one who will cause them tribulation and kill them over years, months, and days. He will afflict them with earthquakes, and he will make them drink from the cup of punishment. He is the one who will be expelled and exiled, the one who will be alone after his father and grandfather. He is the possessor of the occultation, Sahibul Ghaiba, and it will be said, he died or perished. And which valley is he? So this, oh uncle, can only be from me. Right? So the Imam, Salamullahi alayhi, then says to his uncle Ali ibn Ja'far, أَلَا يَكُونُ هَذَا إِلَّا مِنِّي مَا ضَمْنُ الْكَلَامِ. He says that the Mahdi is from the progeny of Ridha alayhi salam. Ali ibn Ja'far then says, you have spoken the truth, may I be sacrificed for you. The difference of opinion about this hadith falls under who the Imam, salamullahi alayh, and the kalam of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa alayhi, who is he talking about? Is he talking about the mother of Imam al-Jawad, who indeed was from Nuba? Her name is Sabika Nubiya, salamullahi alayha. She was indeed from Nubia. Or is it the mother of Imam al-Mahdi? One opinion is that, yes, this is the mother of Imam al-Mahdi, and this seems to be the opinion of a modern-day scholar by the name of Sheikh Ahmed Salman, who I mentioned earlier in his book, Sayyidatul Imam. As for a scholar who is quite earlier, by 400 years, who being al-Alam al-Majlisi, rahimahullah ta'ala, who says that the mother of the Imam, salamullahi alayha, she was Roman, and it can't be that this hadith was talking about the mother of Imam al-Jawad. We just covered that there's a difference of opinion about it, and al-Majlisi is now using that to say that the mother of the Imam is Roman and there's no way that she's Nubian. Ala ayati hal, both opinions mardudat, right? Both opinions, not because, I believe that 100% they're wrong, right? But because a Sheikh Ahmed Salman, to conclude with yaqeen, or to conclude in general that the mother of the Imam is a Nubian with just this narration, and without pulling out the other narrations that surround it and the shuruh, now not just al-Majlisi, that makes a problem with his opinion. Secondly, al-Alam al-Majlisi, by saying she's a Roman and then using a bad istidlal, as we just mentioned earlier, this also poses a problem for the opinion. But I believe that Mufid, Shaykh al-Mufid, Ridwanullahi ta'ala alayh, has struck again in his Kitab al-Irshad, where he clears this whole matter up. وَرِضْوَانُ عَلَى الشيخ المفيد رضوان الله تعالى عليه. I cannot say that enough. Where he quotes the same exact narration in al-Irshad, It might be from his copy of al-Kafi, or it might be from another book, because we know that al-Kulayni, his only book was not just al-Kafi. He says in the narration, قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وآله, says الرضا عليه السلام wept, and then he said, "Oh uncle, did you not hear my father عليه السلام saying that Rasulullah صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم said, may my father be the sacrifice for the son of the chosen one of the slave girls, the pure Nubian woman." Listen to this here. From his children is the one who will be expelled and exiled. Meaning from the children of the Nubian woman is the Mahdi. إلى آخر الحديث الشريف. So it shows you that the Nubian woman who is being talked about here, the Imam who is being talked about here, this hadith of Rasulullah, is a Syeda Sabika Nubiya Salamullahi alayha, and her son Abu Ja'far al-Jawad alayhi salam. Another opinion was that she was raised in the house of Hakima bint al-Imam al-Jawad, who we will talk about her, هذه السيدة الطاهرة سلام الله عليها, very shortly. In his Kitab Uyun al-Mu'jizat by Sheikh Hussein bin Abdul Wahab. This Sheikh, he was a mu'asir of a Sheikh Sharifan al-Radi wa al-Murtada, radwanullahi alayhima. He says in his book Uyun al-Mu'jizat, I read many books that narrate many authentic reports that Hakima bint Abi Ja'far, the daughter of Muhammad ibn Ali, salamullahi alayhima, had a slave girl who was born and raised in her house. The slave girl's name was Narjis. So he's specifying here that she was a Amma, a Walad, that was raised in the house of Hakima, salamullahi alayha. He then says, when she grew up, Abu Muhammad alayhi salam entered and looked at her. Abu Muhammad al-Askari, salamullahi alayhi. His aunt Hakima said to him, my master, I see that you are looking at her. He alayhi salam replied, indeed, I do not look at her in surprise. It is possible that the noble child, by the will of Allah, could be from her. The noble child being Sahibud Dar alayhi salam. Then he ordered her to seek permission from Abu al-Hasan al-Hadi alayhi salam to marry her off, so she requested him to do so. I know this is taking just a bit long, but this account is also very questionable, because one, Sheikh Hussein bin Abdul Wahab has no type of tarjama for him inside any of the early books. So as far as we know, until like the 12th, 13th, 14th century Hijri, there is no biography, no type of tawthiq, no type of kalam about this man until the 13th century. So this makes it a very, very questionable source. Secondly, other than us not knowing his i'tiqadat as well, we also do not know the sources that he was getting it from. Even if we are to take that he is a scholar, قد يخطأ العالم, the scholar could make a mistake, and it could be that maybe the quote-unquote sahih source that he was referring to might not have actually been authentic. So this source, along with the other sources, is also questionable. But what is 100% certain, the mother of the Imam, salamullahi alayha, was a black slave girl. And that is what is in Kitab al-Nu'mani, Kitab al-Ghayba, by a Sheikh al-Nu'mani, radwanullahi ta'ala alayhi, who narrates with a sahih or muwathaq chain from Abu Ja'far, Muhammad ibn Ali al-Baqir alayhi salam, who said, the one who has authority over this matter is like Yusuf alayhi salam, meaning Sahib al-Amr, salamullahi ta'ala alayhi. He says he is like the mother of Yusuf, and his mother is a black slave woman. He's the son of a black slave woman. Allah Azza wa Jal will rectify his affairs in one night. We conclude that this is the yaqeen that we have, that she, salawatullahi alayha, there's no conclusive evidence where she is from, but as for her characteristics, she was a black slave girl. Wallahu a'la wal a'lam.